you know what I'm saying, in the 90s, especially in the early 90s, you know what I'm saying, it was unheard of to have a record, you know what I'm saying, with Bloods and Crips together at the same time. Not only that, you guys were going in on each other. You know what I'm saying? I always wondered how the hell did you even take the pictures together? But obviously, there had to have been camaraderie there. I mean, how did it all go down, redruM?
From inception, or you mean just the concept itself?
The whole start at the beginning with the concept. I want to know how this initially started.
All right. Well, I took, I believe, third place at a rap contest in Ventura, if I'm not mistaken. It was probably like around 30, 40 people performing. I took third place. That's when I ran. That's when I initially met Tweety Bird, Loke, and Robert Lewis. After, you know, hanging out with them for a little bit, going to Robert Lewis's studio, me and Tweety Bird came up with an idea to come up with a project to incorporate both teams. You know, this was like fresh off of the riots, the Rodney King riots. It was, you know, fresh off of that situation. So, you know, tensions were high. True Blue was out, and that kind of, you know, made me upset when, you know, it was an all blue tape, and they kept on dissing the Bloods, and we were outnumbered back then, so we didn't have any music to represent us. We were outnumbered, but we weren't no punk, so I said, fuck it. Me and Tweety Bird came up with the idea, concept. We told Robert Lewis. He took us and our idea to Ronnie Phillips with his bitch ass. Took it to him, and the album was made. That's how it became, you know, into fruition. But the secret sauce was the separation of the Bloods and Crips as far as geographical wise, because the Crips were mainly, I say, 80 to 95% of the Crips on the album was from Compton. Except for Battle Cat. Battle Cat was from LA, and Domino was from Long Beach. The Bloods, you know, I was the team captain for that. All the Bloods I recruited, we were all from Inglewood, except maybe Geek and Noise. They were producers. They got pulled in the album from somebody else. That's also where I met Bloody Mary at when I met Tweety Bird. I met Tweety Bird, Robert Lewis, and Bloody Mary pretty much at the same time, basically. So that's what the formula was, to get real authentic gang members from different cities. That way it wouldn't really be any conflict, because my homies never really ran into the Kelly Parks or any of the Crips that were on the album like that. You know, seeing as though we were from Inglewood. So, right. You know, it made the formula go. Yeah, you know, that's pretty much what it was in a nutshell. Sum it all up. You know, we just went from there. Grabbed a couple hot samples. Didn't really get them cleared. Ran into some red tape behind that. We also didn't rise to the stardom that we should have and that we could have risen to because of faulty contracts and bad business from jump. You know, from the initial jump. Ronnie Ron had intentions to fuck us, and that's what he did. By him being in the game so long, he knew the ins and outs, the tricks of the trade. He was friends with lawyers and, you know, owners of record companies and stuff like that. So I pretty much feel like he took into account that we were street gang members and we didn't know the industry, so he took advantage of us, full advantage of us. And you know, in order for you to play that deadly game, you have to factor in, okay, well, if they gang members, they're not going to be around to enjoy this money anyway. So he fucked us contractually. And, you know, majority of us, you know, aren't reaping the benefits of what we tried to do. We tried to set up something musically what Game and Snoop was trying to do, you know, recently as far as getting the Bloods and the Crips together. We did that back in 92. And still haven't gotten any recognition. We got little to no recognition for it. And we got demonized, saying as though we were promoting gang banging. But at the same time, NWA and Death Row was out. Actually, they were out before we were, pretty much. But, you know, we caught the brunt of the blast. You know, when the box came out.
That's the same thing Sin Loke said when we had him on the show a while back, too. You know what I'm saying? Like, y'all caught the backlash of it, but y'all was showing people like that was from outside of California Like, 'cause I remember going to the record store and seeing the tapes. Like, look at this shit here. They got a boo in that. You know what I'm saying? Like, how's this shit gonna work? And we always thought it was all love, even though the tapes, it seemed like that, you know, they was dissing each other. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah, we kept it musically. You know, like I said, the only problem or like the only uncomfortableness was being in the room, being around Crips at that time. That was '92. That was fresh off the '80s. So we was actually gang members. We was like, when we on the way to the studio, we get into some bullshit, and when we leave the studio, we get into some bullshit. Like fights, gang shootouts, car chases, everything that a gang member was doing and getting into, we was doing the same thing, going to the studio, leaving the studio, and in between. We was catching hell. We were outnumbered. So, we weren't. None of us were no punks. We were outnumbered, so we knew we couldn't be no punks. And by us doing this music thing, we was representing for the Don moves. So we had to do it right. Motherfuckers ran up, they got socked out. When it came to gunplay, we had pistols. But whenever it came like to being cool, we was cool. It all depended on how you pushed up on us. Because we knew we was outnumbered. We knew we were targets. So if we're pushing up and there's some hostility, we finna give. If we didn't take off first, we finna take right back off as soon as you do some bullshit. We weren't taking no cuts, no shorts, no losses, none of that. None of that.
So essentially, I mean, you guys were taking a huge risk every time you went to the studio to record for this project.
Yes. Every time we went to the store, every time we went to the mall, anytime, like, especially after the album come out, it's, they see us, and because they weren't, used to seeing a lot of red like that. We got bold with it. We got, even before Bangin On Wax came out, by us being Bloods and Pyrus, we had to represent our colors, and red is a bright ass color. So when you see somebody walking down the street with some red chucks, a red shirt with a red hat, you can't say he a Crip.
Right.
That ain't no way. Well, nowadays you can say that because colors have been incorporated on both sides. But back then in the 90s, Bangin On Wax came out in 92, 93. Man, it was stock out sessions. It wasn't nobody pulling guns on each other and like it is now. No, it was all about, punching him out.
Right.
And along the way, the protocol and the G code has been deteriorated real bad, and it needs to be reinstated as soon as possible.